Hello and welcome back to Dukascopy TV. In today's Targets in Focus interview, we're taking a look at two so-called Scandy pairs, the euro against the Swedish Kroner and the euro against the Norwegian Kroner. Joining me to discuss his monthly predictions on these pairs is Anders Eklof, Chief FX Strategist at Swedbank in Stockholm. Anders, thanks for joining me today. Now, yesterday we looked at the Central Bank of Sweden's rate decision, which to most people's expectations was held at 1%. Talk us through your predictions for the euro SEK in the coming months, if you could.
Yeah, obviously the Riksbank didn't do anything with the repo rate, but they quite aggressively cut the repo rate path, and I think that what people read into their statement is that they now believe that corporates have more difficulties to pass through price hikes to consumers, and so they were a little bit dovish on the inflation side of it. It means that we can't expect a rate hike or clear steepening on the Swedish rate curve in the very near future. So this is like pressing euro stock, like pushing euro stock a little bit higher in the short term, and we don't see any near-term triggers to really drive the krona stronger. Then again, if we look a little bit forward, like 3 months, we expect Swedish macro data to come back a little bit after a soft spot here in the recent this month and perhaps next month. And then we will be back at 8.30, 8.35 against the euro again, and we perceive the ECB to be dovish and perhaps cut rates, and the relative macro outlook is very different between Sweden and the Eurozone, especially, of course, the southern parts of the Eurozone.
Now, what about your 12-month prediction on this pair? Because, of course, this will be much harder to ascertain as a number of factors can change between now and then.
Yeah, I mean, we can just look at the Riksbank and their prediction. Their prediction is actually that the krona should be around, let's say, 8.30 or something. Going forward against the euro, depending on what kind of assumptions they make on the euro dollar and dollar stock, of course. But we have quite the same opinion as the Riksbank, that the Swedish krona is not particularly strong if you look historically, and the fundamentals speak in favor for the euro stock. So I think the 12-month forecast is definitely in the 8.30s or even lower than that, and because at that point of time we expect to see a little bit, perhaps the interest rate hikes in the pipeline from the Riksbank. At least market will start to price it in the end of the year. But in the very near future, I see some risk for the upside in euro stock, because we have next week, for instance, some macro numbers that could be a little bit on a mixed to soft side.
Okay, moving on to the Norwegian Kroner. When you're predicting the euro-NOK movement over a 1, 3 and 12-month period, for instance, do you factor in the country's rich oil reserves at all?
I would say, I mean, the correlation between with oil and euro-NOK or dollar-NOK on a current basis is not that strong. But that said, I mean, as we have a negative outlook for the global economy this year too, and we expect oil prices to stay quite stable or not rising sharply, and this put a little bit of pressure on the NOK compared to earlier swings in the economy, and then when we've seen oil price going higher, investments in the oil sector going higher in Norway. So it's a little bit dampening the case for Norway. But most important, that keep euro Norway a little bit high in the short term is the Norges Bank's quite their view on inflation outlook. They think that inflation will remain soft despite that they have, like for instance, closed output cap. So they are worried about that, and that they will keep rate hikes far away from now. So it means that euro Norway is going a little bit hand in hand when euro stock is sideways in the short term, and then we see 740 in 3 to 6 months or something, a little bit of recovery for the NOK.
Just before you go, Mr. Eklof, is there anything else you'd like to add whilst on the subject of the euro, the Swedish Kroner and the Norwegian Kroner?
No, but I just want to add that perhaps, I mean, we believe that the Eurozone will be weak here, but the flow picture after this Bank of Japan aggressive policy suggests that perhaps some inflows into Eurozone, which is now helping the euro despite the weak macro outlook. So it's a little bit counterintuitive that Euro stock and Euro NOK is a little bit bid here, because looking at the relative fundamentals, we should see more downside ahead. But in the short term, it's like a mixed picture also, given the fact that the flows are helping the euro at the moment.
Okay, that's all for this Targets in Focus interview. Of course, the programme will be back on Monday, where a brand new selection of currency pairs will be examined and, of course, scrutinised. But until then, it's goodbye from me. Have a great weekend.